Before we get started, this is the fourth grade at Molly Stark Elementary. For the past several years, I have always taken the fourth graders and we've put together a veterans show. It goes along with their curriculum because they study about the country and patriotism. So it's been a perfect program for music to share with them. The last 2 years, we've actually gone and performed for the veterans with the Elks, paying for our buses and helping us out to get there, and then marching in the parade for the veterans. This year, I was able to get a grant for $2,000 with the Elks, and we were able to get sweatshirts, and we all look alike. Isn't that nice? And it will also pay for the buses, and it helps pay for the music and programs that we're running for the veterans. It's a great way to pull the community together with the lodge, with the veterans. We go to BPI on Friday, and we perform for them. So we put on about 4 shows, and this is only 1/3 of the group. We have 60 students in the whole selection, so it's a beautiful piece. We'll be performing at BPI on Friday at 10, 2 o'clock at Molly, and then on Monday at 10 o'clock at the Veterans Home.
Then we'll be in the parade.
And then we'll be in the parade, so it'll be great. All right, so here we go. Let's see. I'm using somebody else's music, so let's see if maybe going right here. Here we go.
Cute.
Someone else's CD, but maybe it'll come here in a minute.
Pennsylvania, Rhode Island,
South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming, North, South, East, West, in our own objective opinion. Vermont is the best of the 50 nifty United States from the 13 original colonies. Shout 'em, scout 'em, tell all about 'em, one by one, to give an update to every state in the good old
Nice job, fourth grade. Thank you so much. Let's take an exit this way. Wonderful. Thank you.
Aren't you glad I made them put things on?
Yes, yes. That was very nice. We're going to lose our crowd now.
Good. Want us to go home.
Yeah.
Last meeting.
So last meeting, your task list had 3 items. The BSD handbook was an item that was brought forward in public session in the citizen comment. This is actually not just a BSD issue, but it's an entire SVSU of the elementary schools to do a review of the elementary handbook and to revise that. We have principals that have signed up to do that task, and that meeting is being scheduled in order to get that done. And as soon as it's finished, we'll send out a revised handbook. And it's a matter of, you're actually starting to warn some policies that will need to be put into that handbook. So as they come through again for approval, we'll time the revision of the handbook with those policies so that the new policies are in there. So within the next few months, you'll have that handbook revision. There was also 2 other things that were on the task list. In December, to start discussing whether or not you will be publishing bus routes in the paper for each school year prior to that. So that'll be on your December, because you asked that it be in 2 meetings, so that would be the December meeting. Mm-hmm. And then the 3rd item was a review of the healthcare legislation and coverage of provided employees through VHI, and actually that was done at the SVSU meeting that was held on October 30th. So most of you participated in that. Mr. Pembroke and Steve Stitzel, our attorney, had given an overview of the health So that'll continue to be an issue, topic to be reviewed. So it's really how the healthcare changes nationally and statewide are affecting our employees.
Okay, on that handbook, you said that since it affects all the districts in the SVSU, you're having a meeting with the various principals, and
Yeah,
you're
we
going to
have-
go over it, re-edit the book, and add any new policies that have happened since then, and then redo it over. Okay,
And then redistribute it. Yep.
and redistribute it. Okay, thank you for bringing that up for us. Okay, next item, number 3, citizens' comments. You can bring it down a little bit, that's kind of high.
Hi, Lily Malton, Bennington resident. I just had a couple of questions for the board. And
You'll
I
have to
ask
speak
them-
up, Lori.
sorry, I have to ask
That
the
microphone
board-
goes to the TV, it doesn't amplify your voice.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll move away a little bit so I don't see you. I had a couple of questions for the board, and I have to ask them now during public comments. One of them was, there was some discussion about inviting a select board member to our BSD budget sessions, and I want to know if that had taken place or not. And also, related to the budget, if the BSD has a plan, a marketing plan for gaining community support for the budget, knowing that after Rick's statement about what the state's coming down with, combined with our needs in the educational system, what that's going to look like for the average homeowner. And I had a third question, and it was just something that I happened to notice, and I didn't know which board it went to, and I have to say that because I just don't know. So, and it was actually a job that was posted on School Spring, and it was for an instructional person. It is excuse me, and I just was caught off guard by it because I've missed a few meetings, and I thought maybe somebody might be able to tell me more about it. And it's for someone to help with documents, here it is. It's an SVSU Instruction and Assessment Coordinator, and I didn't know what that was. And I read a little bit about the job function, but I just wasn't sure who it belongs to. And I didn't know if somebody might point me in the right direction.
So we're going to talk at 9A on the select board.
Catherine says she's going to be discussing that under item 9, old business.
For,
Okay,
not
so
the
then
job, not the job description, the select board meeting.
Oh, the select board, okay,
Yeah, so it's under 9A on the agenda.
for the select board question? Okay.
So we'll
Does
be
any-
reviewing
So does
that.
anyone have an answer for me regarding that position?
Yeah, again, it's a coordinator position for the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Department to assist the Director of Curriculum. You'll remember Kathy Marcoux had that position of Director, and this is a position that was added to assist that person. So they assist with all the coordination duties that the Director would have under curriculum assessment and instruction.
That's what I was wondering, I didn't know if we had to change, and I just wasn't sure where it came from, or if it went to a different board, and that's why I wasn't sure.
It went to the board for approval at the SU board, gosh, I think over a year ago, because we actually didn't fill it. We filled it internally part-time last year. So it's now vacant again, and there's an advertisement for it.
First, I just wanted to see if there was, or to request, as I've done by email, an executive session with the board. I didn't get an answer, so I didn't know.
Did
if
she
I could
email you?
request.
I got an email forwarded from Kelly. And the topic wasn't public, but what I did is I talked with Catherine, and she explained what was going on, so, I left it at that, because she was supposed to be talking with you and so forth. And we got updates this evening in executive session as well.
Well, to be fair, because I don't want to bring anything up that I think the board should be aware of that might be concerning to me in a public session, I thought that I would bring this up in executive session, issues that may or may not have been handled either, one, to my satisfaction, or two, that, and let's just say if I had an issue that wouldn't be appropriate to bring to Catherine.
I think the chain of command is, you know, the teacher, the sped teacher, the principal, if you get no sense, superintendent and sped director, and then finally the board. And I think at this present time, Catherine explained to me that you were still working with her on these issues, and that I think if something isn't solved to your satisfaction or something isn't to your liking, then you could ask the board for an executive session. But I think you're
So
with.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she actually met with me today, so.
Right, so I'm saying I need an executive session where I can address issues that would be inappropriate to do in a public forum.
What's the pleasure of the board here?
Well,
Go ahead, Joe.
no, well, excuse me. I want to be sure I understand your question. Are you asking for an executive session this evening to discuss these items that you have, that you'd like to discuss with the board?
Yes.
I have no problem. I have no problem in sitting
Is it
down
a
and
special
listening
ed
to her.
problem? Does it, okay.
You guys both?
At the,
Yep.
at the end of the evening, I have no problem.
Okay, they all agree, so.
And then the second part would just be, and this could probably be addressed at multiple boards because each one is warning the bullying policy. That when I read through it again, I know that it's exactly in line with model bullying policy for the state, which, you know, obviously every district has to have one at least as stringent as, but as I brought up in the past at other meetings, never at a BSD meeting, the qualifier that's used after, the qualifier that's used to say that a student to student or group of students to student and not addressing adult to student just leaves a gap. And so the gap, when copying the policy right from the state over, still leaves that gap. So
Oh, I thought it didn't.
I obviously think that can cause huge problems, and I thought that that the policy was going to be adopted without the qualifier or inclusive of adult to student. I thought that's what.
Inclusive. Yeah.
Jackie?
It's not, we're warning it. We'll warn it, we might accept it, but we can send your comments back to the policy committee. It's not policy because it hasn't went through the whole thing. It will have to go back to the policy committee and come back out. We can add your comments
Yeah,
tonight.
that's what it's for.
When does
That's
the
what a warning
policy
is for.
committee meet? Does anybody know?
Yep, it's meeting in December, first Monday of the
I
month.
never go.
First
I'm not
Monday
part
of
of
the
that
month, first Monday of the month. So it's first Monday in December, and that's when the comments would
And
be,
it's open to the public, right?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Central office, first would be December 2, I think. And what time, about 3:30?
I know they're
No.
having one scheduled, but then nobody was there, or it was on the agenda, or on the
Board?
calendar. It was yesterday, and there was
No, it was canceled, so it should have said canceled.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, that's,
Well,
and,
does that concern me, obviously, in the past, and it just hasn't been adopted, so prior to it being adopted, I thought it would be.
that's what warning is for.
Yeah.
You're supposed to come forward and say what you're concerned about when a policy is warned. And so what you're telling us, just to reiterate it, that it's not sufficient in the policy about adult to student.
Right.
Okay.
So, what did you say? It's adult to student?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in there for adult to student.
Well, should she not come to that meeting also
Well,
to,
she doesn't need to, but you're welcome to. Your responsibility as a board is for policy, of course, so you warn a policy so that you can hear from citizens and others about, citizens and employees about revisions or concerns they have about the policy. And you are exactly correct that the policy can be as stringent as the state model policy, and the delay for this coming around is exactly that discussion at the policy committee, because they wanted their old policy, which they thought was as stringent, and then at their last meeting decided, never mind, we'll go with the state recommended policy, which comes from many attorneys working on it, so, but I'll take that comment back.
Yeah, because I remember Claude isn't here to see.
Yeah, Claude isn't, but we'll get it.
And then my only other issue was the 7B, which I know that now is not going to be discussed tonight. Will that come up for discussion again when he's here, so I can comment on that then?
Yep.
I just was unclear as to what it
Yep.
was, and I don't know if you have it.
Well, we'll
That's
probably
seven-
tell that at that point.
That's
in the
7B
agenda.
under bullying, right?
No, under educational.
Oh, special ed,
Yeah,
okay.
and actually, we'll do a little overview of what that is.
I actually have a question in regards to this bullying. Will we see this again
Yes.
prior to?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
that's
You have
we
to
can
vote,
verify
yeah.
whether something was added or not?
Yep,
The way
absolutely.
it works is they generate a policy, the committee, then they send it to each board. The board makes comments, like, we're happy with various issues, and then it goes back to the committee for revisions. And then it will come back for the adoption.
Just one more issue about that handbook that you said is going to be revised. If there's pieces in that handbook, a specific part in that handbook that I take great issue with, how do I
Email me.
voice that to make sure it either comes out or is adopted in a policy fashion versus a protocol?
You would email me about that.
Critique, whatever critiques you have.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm here to talk about the tuition policy and the charter policy.
could you give us your name, please?
Katie Livingston, and I'm a resident of Bennington. I'm waiting to see on the agenda for the public vote, for the public to vote and allow the Bennington district students to be tuitioned out. That way, my children or any other children are allowed to choose, parents are allowed to choose to send their children to Woodford or Jeffrey or wherever they'd like to go. My personal is because my two children were yanked from Woodford because of something, I had to move. So I'm still having some issues with Molly Stark, and I'd like to get my kids back to Woodford. So I'm just still waiting for that to be on the agenda.
I think you had a discussion about the charter in your last.
Yeah, the last time we were discussing a charter, when the selectmen were discussing it with us, and someone on the board here made a motion, seconded, to just leave the charter as it is and make no changes, which would mean there would be no tuitioning out. But what I would recommend is that you get the phone number of Mr. Campion, who is the representative on the education board in Montpelier. He's from North Bennington, I think. And you have him propose a choice, because like I said before, 9 through 12 in Vermont, all public schools are choice. So, I mean, you could have a youngster go over to Brattleboro, Springfield, Rutland, wherever you want, if there's space, and they'll accept your youngster. Now, if they would do that K through 8, this would be something, and I don't see why. When I go to Montpelier, I'm always an advocate on the VSBA to do that. That way we have everybody in the whole state choice, like they do in Massachusetts. No matter where you live, you can send your kid anywhere you want. So that's the way I would do it. I'd ask him if he would be willing to propose or sponsor a bill, putting it out there in the Education Committee, that there'd be choice like there is 9 through 12.
What meeting was it that we did that, the vote or
2
The
meetings
last
ago.
one, I think.
Yeah,
You and I did it.
it wasn't on the agenda. It was part of a discussion about the town. I wasn't here, but I understand it was part of the town discussion about the town joint meetings
Okay,
considering a
we've been
town
meeting
school
with the selectmen,
district.
and one of their issues is that maybe we should give up the charter and become a town school. We checked with our lawyers, and there's no big advantage over doing that, so we had motion seconded right here saying that we just want to maintain our charter, because only, I think, 3 school districts, North Bennington was one, and there's another one, I think, in the whole state that have their own charters, to regulate their own school system. They just don't go by state law, so. But I would do that. Just call him, he's a very nice gentleman, and he's, we want to talk to you and just explain your issues, and he can get a couple of people to sponsor a bill and see where it goes from there. People did that in the high school, and it worked. Could be the same thing.
So you're suggesting that I send my kids to Rutland or Brattleboro?
No, what he's
No,
saying
this
is,
would mean that all schools would be open. You said Shasberry, North Bennington. You could go anywhere you wanted in a grammar school.
Oh, okay.
that's what he's saying, if the law got changed.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, under financial reports, we have the treasurer's report here. I'll pass it out. Take a second to look at it.
We all got an email.
Did you get an email? Okay. And again, it looks like, and again, Rick, with your knowledge of finance, it looks like we're all set until the money comes in December, right? I mean, we've got over
Actually,
$2
the
million, and a regular payroll is $500,000, so we should have enough money, no problem, for 2 payrolls. Yeah, okay. Everything else looks, it's amazing that they got interest received on investments for 1 month of almost $7,000 bucks. That's pretty good interest in this day and age.
$4 million in the bank.
Okay, any questions on the treasury report? Okay, budget status, Rick had that online as well.
Oh, did you accept the treasurer's report?
Okay, can we have a motion to accept?
So
the treasury
moved.
report? Second?
Second.
Second, Kelly? Any comments, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, and again, the budget status report, does anybody have any questions on that of Rick? Okay, none. Under personnel, nothing. Consent agenda. Okay, we get minutes, we get the items, the hiring.
I move to the consent agenda.
The motion to accept,
Second.
second by George. Questions on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, educational matters, regular education, tri-semester report card revision. As you know, the Bennington School District doesn't, several years ago, we stopped giving kids A, B, C, Ds, and now they get a regular paragraph written about their skills, which is much better for parents, a lot more details, and it's just not saying a kid's C student, but why they're a C student. Okay?
So, are they gonna revise it again?
Did you want me to speak to that?
Yes.
I just thought that it would be an opportunity to update you on where we are with the report cards and how we are integrating Common Core standards. The math curriculum team that is from all representatives from different grade levels from different schools got together and looked at the standards for math and what we have for the categories for grading on the report cards for grades K to 6. And also there was a small team that worked on the English language arts standards so that all of the standards that are representative on these report cards are actually the expectations of the Common Core standards. So this is just a draft of the edits that we have so far that will be sent out to the teachers.
That's okay.
And
I'll look on here, take it.
my secretary Lisa is working on creating this with all the drop-down menus that teachers can use. But just for your information, I thought it's good for you to see what the Common Core standards look like at the grade level. And also some of the approach to learning that is included on the report card about following directions, taking risks, organizing themselves, just so you can have a better idea of our reporting mechanism for students, families, and parents.
So this is going to be on the computer, so a teacher will just be able to go to the site and make one of these out for each youngster, then print it out?
And it has been, but each year we upgrade it so that it's more appropriate instead of just grade level expectations. This year we are putting in what are actually the Common Core standards at every grade level, because we have been working to implement the standards. This is the third year, is that correct? That we're really pretty far ahead. The Common Core standards are not new to us. The instruction has been happening over the past few years.
When we had a meeting, long time ago in SVSU, we had a lady there, I forget what her name was, she spoke to us, and she did mention a Common Core app, and I went home and downloaded it, and when you look, it's got math, it's got language arts, history, and science, and it's got from K through 12. So if any parent is wondering what their youngster is being taught in the various classrooms, you can go right here, take math, third grade, and you'll see what the expectations are.
Yes, the green light.
So I think that, if people would go online and just look for the Common Core app, type it in, it's free. I mean, it'll give you a lot of information about what's available out there for your youngster. I think you can do it on a laptop and anything else as well as the phone.
Yeah, I think a lot of teachers use that app. I've heard it mentioned
Yeah, I
many
know,
times.
she did it, I tried, and I think it's really a worthwhile thing, because so many parents say, what's the expectations of the kid in the third grade for math? Well, it's all right there.
Yeah. Well, with the first report card, I know that teachers sit down with parents to discuss what are these expectations at each grade level and how is their child doing. So that's why it's nice to have all of the standards there for everyone to reference. And then I did also want to mention that I talked to Wendy Pierce. She couldn't be here tonight, but we are looking at, she wanted to just talk briefly about how she's trying to use her progress monitoring in a way that's a little bit closer connected to our grading that's on the report cards. So we were going to discuss a more consistent way that grading happens for students who are on an IEP, just because there's a feeling that some teachers report it one way and some teachers report it another way, and we really want it to be consistent. So she's going to really look at how we can represent student progress in their progress reports that come out at the same time as the report cards. So I just also wanted to mention that we're going to be working together to make that a more consistent grading process.
This one that you're working or revising now, when will this be complete? Or is it?
Almost complete.
This week.
Where it is, this document, unless there are a few edits, which we're still looking at over this next week.
And
We're just facilitating it into the more
fine.
electronic.
And then, is there a plan so that parents are going to know that what this is all about? And
It's not a great difference. It really is a similar format, but we have just updated it to include the specific Common Core standards. And at the teacher-parent conferences in November, they will have a chance to discuss that with the teachers about what are the expectations at each grade level.
okay, fine.
Did Wendy share with you, I brought her some forms from Massachusetts about when they have IEPs for students, there's like 30 items that they have to check off to make sure everything was complete.
A checklist for IEPs. I gave it to Wendy.
And there's also one from the state about when you have autistic children, their IEPs, all the things that you should look for too. So I know you gave them to her, right?
I did.
Okay.
I gave them to Wendy.
Okay, thank you for that update. Okay, policies. We have one policy.
I've got a question under the special education part of it. I know we're going to skip over, but
I thought you were going to talk to us. Right.
yeah, I thought
7B, right?
I thought you were going to do an overview, or was that the overview? But I've got a question in regards to special education, which kind of comes back to this. Where are we with the gold view? Catherine?
With the what?
Gold view?
I'm thinking.
Okay.
Give me 1 minute.
Because that was-
I'm trying to think the last conversation I had. We are in the process of reviewing the contract and talking with the company in regard to programming issues that we've had with them. There are some certain things that we had expected to be able to do within the program, and so that's, I believe that's our last, so we're waiting to get a response from them on that.
Because we've outlaid quite a bit of money for that, didn't we?
Yep, yep.
So what is the time frame before that's going to be usable?
I would have to check with Wendy.
Okay. Could we get an answer on that?
We've done the training, and individuals have started to use it, and that's how we've discovered areas that we needed to talk with a programmer. Karen, is that accurate from your memory?
Because I believe that was
Yeah.
put out so the IEPs were more current, more up to date,
Yes,
less time in
That's
IEP
correct.
meetings.
that's correct. At
So-
this time, however, I think most people are still using our Infinite Campus piece, but they've had the training and they started to use the Gold View, and then we ran into these issues. Karen?
Unexpected glitches that we experienced, and we're trying to work it through with the company.
But I'll put that on the task list.
Because what we don't want to have is the people moving forward with the IEPs with the glitches in them.
The only other thing I would say about that item on the agenda is that Wendy's intent was just to review the reporting of IEP goals being met, how that's done and how frequently, and that there's, as Don has indicated, there's conversation about making sure that there is common language between that reporting system and the Common Core, and what individual students have on their IEPs that are individualized, and then their regular access, their access to regular education in the Common Core.
Paul, do you have
No,
a question? Anybody? No? Okay, under policies, we have one, the policy drafting committee to adopt, and then we have 3 to warn. So we'll go through these one at a time. A, number 1,000, policy drafting committee. Can we have a motion to adopt that?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Now, the next 3, again, are for warning. We're going to vote on these. When we accept them, if people have comments, they can make them. They'll be taken back to the policy committee, and then hopefully if they'll see enough interest, they can revise them, edit them, and then they'll be coming back to us probably sometime beginning of next year. Okay, B, conflict of interest in hiring, 4035. A motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to warn.
Warren, I'm sorry, to warn. Okay, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, policy 5002, prevention of harassment of students. Motion to warn this one.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous. And policy 5003, prevention of bullying of students. Motion to warn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay, under old business, joint meeting with Bennington Select Board, and this is the question that was asked before, on November 12th, which is next Tuesday. That's going to be held at the CDC, and it's going to be held at 5:30. Again, public is welcome. What's going to happen is 3:30 to 5:30 is the SVSU Finance Committee meeting, and then from 5:30 to 6:30, the selectmen will come and meet with the members of that finance board. And it seems that what we're going to be doing is we're going to tell them what we're looking at for budget items, major ones, and they're going to let us know. No one's going to tell each other what they should be putting on, what they shouldn't be doing, but this is just more information than anything else. Is that the way you see it, Catherine?
Yes, this came out of the strategic planning of the Bennington, town of Bennington, from a consultant, Dr. Mullen, who came to work with the town on strategic planning and letting the town know that its economic development rests in a large part on the schools and the resources that the schools have. So they have been very welcoming to have these joint meetings with representatives from the Select Board in Bennington and the chairs of MAU, SVSU, CDC, and BSD. And North Bennington was also invited. They're
Okay.
monthly meetings.
Okay, B, scheduled date with Steve Dale. Now, to be fair, we are going to be meeting again on the 18th, Monday the 18th. We have 2 members missing. So what I would hope that we can just postpone this schedule a date until the 18th, and hopefully all 7 will be there. We come up with a date that all people can make.
Speaking of the 18th, thanks for reminding me. Your audit is scheduled to be done. It was actually supposed to have been done for tonight's meeting. Actually, I think it technically was, but it wasn't in time to get it into your agenda. Is it okay that we put it on for the beginning of the 18th? Or do you want to wait till your meeting in December?
Well, it'll be okay, because usually it's a 15-minute item by the time they do the regular boilerplate information, and
I just wanted to make sure.
it'd be nice if the management letter or some of that basic could be sent to us electronically.
Oh, it'll all be sent out in advance.
Okay, yeah, so we get to look at it and have questions.
And we're meeting at 6 PM on the 18th. Do we know where?
Central office,
And we're back at Central.
everybody get that? We're going to have our work session, the second one, on the Monday, the 18th, 6 o'clock, central office. Okay, thank you, Rick.
Actually, that audit maybe, it'll send it out electronically. Well, who doesn't like electronic? Because I hate paper, but,
We'll work that out. Mary Lee knows.
and I'll try to get that out ASAP, because I think it's on my desk as I speak.
Okay.
So I can get it out to you real soon.
Okay, number 10, FSAC Food Service Advisory Committee met October 17th. And that's Marie, right?
No, that's me.
You,
And
I'm
wasn't-
sorry.
I was unable to, so I'm going to kind of default that to Rick, because I think there was only one item that I saw from the minutes.
Yeah, we are focusing solely on the nutrition policy and updating that, or crafting suggestions to go to the policy committee to update that based on the new food regs that have come out, national regulations. So, and based on the work that was done at the last meeting, it was widely agreed upon that we're actually going to shrink that policy quite a bit and basically just say, follow the federal regs. But that hopefully will have, that'll probably continue at the next meeting, which is probably November 24th, whatever that third Thursday is.
21.
21, November 21 will be the next meeting. That'll largely take up that meeting as well.
Okay, thank you. Jackie, SVSU Technology, were you able to make that?
Yep. We talked, Frank attended an E-rate meeting, and we need to add text to the use policy for internet safety, and we have to call the tech plan a living document. That's their thing to get E-rate now, that we have to put this language in. And we talked about the Kuno rollout. I guess it rolled out 2 weeks ago, was it?
Yes.
And there were some glitches, and the tech department's working closely with Curriculum Loft to make sure that these are all taken care of. But for the most part, they did run well.
At Bennington, ours was last week, and access worked very well. The training actually took less time than I anticipated it taking.
Shasberry had the biggest glitches, I guess, because they didn't buy the protection that we bought. We bought more protection.
Okay.
And we came up with we're going to send out a letter if we ever decide that the laptops can go home or the devices can go home. So we had to come up with an agreement, and we crafted an agreement that would go home to parents, telling them of the liability and how they are to be used. If we ever allow that. We haven't ever decided
Because I thought he
that.
said that they had bought an insurance policy for our kids, so if something happened, stolen, lost, broken, that it would cover them and kids wouldn't be responsible.
I believe that's true. I believe that's true.
I think that's what he had said, because I asked what he's going to use, and I think he said that.
That is true, but
I think I think they still want the agreement.
they still want the agreement. If a kid destroys it on purpose,
Oh.
as they did in one classroom, they immediately dumped water on it.
No.
Yes. Then we need agreements in place. In one of the classrooms, the child took his bottle of water, didn't want anything to do with it, and dumped it on it. A brand-new Kuno. So that's what we worked on. We'll be meeting, there is some, I can't tell you what's happening with the website, but because it isn't finished or anything, but they are working on it.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
We meet next month.
Okay, one thing that goes along with this, I just want to mention it, is that I went, the second item here, Lake Maury, I went to the special ed workshop. There was 3 young ladies from up north, and the only thing I was kind of surprised, they didn't give any handouts. But what they did say was that when we did kneecaps, I guess there was like a 3-week window when all the kneecap testing had to be done. Under with the next group that we're going to be doing a Common Core, I think it's a 3-month process. So that means you can stagger the testing, which means you don't need a machine for every single kid on the first day. In other words, if you have one set of machines for a class, say whatever your third grade is, and you have enough for all third graders, you could use that in the first grade, and the next week the second grade, and the third grade. So I don't think we're going to be looking at having to buy hundreds of these computers to take the tests for our kids. I think if it's all planned correctly, we can do it with one good set of machines and just pass it along for the one class, which would be a big savings. I know Jackie did mention something we should have for every kid anyways, I know, but
I think we should phase it in over a 3-year plan. I don't think next year that we should go out and spend $350,000 so that every kid has a thing.
Right.
But I think it needs to be phased in over 3 years.
Oh, yeah.
And we also have to upgrade our servers. We need 2 servers for the BSD alone that we have to upgrade. So there is a lot of money that's got to go into it in this next budget.
Okay.
And I will get more information for the next meeting. But Frank had to be away at a conference today. That's why he's not here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, a VSBA regional meeting, October 7th at the CDC. The main thrust of that was the VSBA person was talking about health insurance and the changes coming down the pike. And as Rick always tells us, and this guy was telling us, is that basically it's fluid, it's moving, it's changing, and you just have to keep on top of it. Now, Rick, you go to meetings with your fellow business managers and get trained in workshops and stuff, and I'm sure Rick will keep us informed on that. Like I say, at Lake Maury, I did go to the meeting there. One was on Common Core that I went to, and one was on the SPED. By far, the SPED was the best one of all, to me anyways. I was very interested, learned a lot, and it was, well, as a matter of fact, they did ask the ladies there, why is it the state of Vermont does that audit for SPED paras? I mean, other states don't do that. If you hire a SPED para, that's it, and, a few minutes of here and there, but she said that's just the way they do it here in the state, and we're stuck with it, and you have to accept it. Okay, in the meeting we had last week, and again, the first part was meeting rules, and the second part was on the health law. I mean, we've been inundated with rules and regulations, but here's what I want to tell you about the meetings that Mr. Stitzel gave us. He said that the board's responsibility under citizens' comments is to give people in the audience that want to speak on an issue that doesn't show up on the agenda a minute to speak. And the board is supposed to be receptive to listen, but they do not have to have any dialogue or back and forth on them. In other words, you can make comments to the board, but you can't expect the board to answer questions and go back and forth with that. That's what he said. Now, on issues, this came up last time, on issues within the budget, we should allow the public to speak on issues that we're discussing within the agenda. Again, as long as we keep it to a minute, we give the people a proper, in other words, if we're talking about report cards and you have something to say on that before we vote, we have to recognize you and you can come up and speak on that, okay? So that's the way we're going to run the meetings from now on.
Is it a set time limit, like 1 minute?
Because he said what would happen is if you have many people, I mean, you could be running a meeting for a long time. I mean, we're going to be nice about it. I mean, if you're the only one who wants to speak for 2-3 minutes, we're not going to censure you and say, that's it, stop. Okay, but I mean, we have to be able to run the meeting, but we also have to give the public their due for input. So anytime we have an issue, you'll be all set. We broke our first rule by having a dialogue with Ms. Sykes over there, but it won't happen again. Thank you. I know you ladies are very interested in, not only for your own children, but for the school district. You know, we really appreciate it. You know, I mean, I know you put a lot of work into it, take a lot of personal time, and it is appreciated by the board because it keeps us on our toes and it keeps administration on their toes because we're always looking over our shoulder, make sure we're doing things right. Okay, so don't ever take anything that you may think is a negative.
Ken, I do want to make a note on that.
Yes.
Because I got a little, I understand where you're coming from, but you know what? We're elected officials. And if somebody wants to come here and speak about an issue, and they want to speak for 5 minutes, and there's 20 of them that want to talk, I was elected to listen to those people. And I'm sorry, I understand you might have talked to whoever, but I want to go on the record of saying that whoever wants to come to this meeting and wants to speak, I'm willing to sit here to listen to them. So I just want to go on record of saying that.
No, he just came and he had the annotated laws of the state of Vermont, and he said that, you know, because at our last meeting, people said that we didn't want him to speak, and he said that you should let him speak, but he said it could get out of control, like you mentioned, 5 minutes times 20 would be almost 2 hours, but, you know, I think we have to use our heads. If someone is coming and contributing, and we think it's very important, you know, we don't want to censor them.
But it is important to them.
Yes.
We may not feel it's important, or we may feel we know the information, but if it's important to that person to speak to it, I feel we need to listen to them. But I understand the judgment has to be done too, yes.
Okay. Catherine?
I just want to put that whole judgment and conversation in context, and I'm not, what I'd like to clarify is that he was trying to explain the difference between a meeting held in public and a public meeting. You know, a forum that you might hold as a public meeting would be where you would enter dialogue, you would hear extensive comment. But this is a meeting in the public for your business as a board. You have business to take care of, and so you want to hear the public in relation to items on the agenda. And then if there are items that are not on the agenda, but members of the public would like us today to mention to you, you hear what they are, and you might decide later in the meeting to add them to a future agenda. So it's really to help boards concentrate on the work they have to do and be efficient in it, and yet still be responsive to public input, and to know the difference between a public meeting and a meeting in the public. And you are a meeting in the public, not a public meeting.
Ken? Another thing that Mr. Stitzel talked about is that we are not an LEA. An LEA is what is it called? What is that? Tell them what it is. I don't know what the initials stand for. I
Local
forgot.
Educational Agency, LEA.
Local Educational Agency. So our special ed students, although they come to our schools, the supervisory union and the SPED department are the ones that tell us what we need, what we're to do. We don't decide on our own. Right? So.
Yeah, special education under Act 153 and its revised statutes consolidates special education at the supervisory level. That's why all of our special ed staff and are hired, the employing board is the supervisory union. And the supervisory union is the LEA.
Okay, now superintendent's report.
Sure. I wanted to make sure all of the board members were aware of the Vermont School Boards Association and Vermont Superintendents Association agenda for a world-class education. And what they've done is come up with legislation that would be helpful and needed, state policy and support, local action for many different aspects of educating our students in order that we can be providing students with the opportunities to become productive citizens and well-educated in the modern world, in our world. So the sections are assuring success for every student. I'm not going to read it to you, but it is on the website as a link, and we'll make sure it's on the website as a topic. Second section is supporting a new vision for teaching and learning, and delivering and using world-class technology, and providing effective leadership. So that's up there. You'll want to take a look at it as we start to enter budget discussions, just to see where the state focuses by these organizations and trying to provide the students the best educational opportunities that we have. I also wanted to report on the joint meeting with the Select Board, which was held on the 28th of October. The focus of the meeting was on student services in the social and mental health areas. So predominantly MAU services were described to the Select Board and student need related to those services that are available to students. Some of you may have read the news article that followed that meeting, but Kristen Harrington, who is a school-based clinician with a social work background, who works at the high school, reported for the middle school and the high school on the results of the youth risk survey that our students take every 2 years. She was reporting on the last survey. The current survey that was taken last year will be released this month, and there'll be an update about the results of that survey. But the focus was really on the number of students who are faced with trauma, traumatic experience, who are injurious to self, and the supports that the school has for not only identifying these students and being alert to changes in behavior, which might indicate that students are in traumatic experiences or in crisis, and the referrals that are done to outside agencies. And it was very well received. I think individuals who attended that and who read the newspaper articles that followed, had a different look at the profile of the students that we serve. And certainly we can review the next release of that survey with your board as well when it's released in November. And then just a reminder that our legislative breakfast, SVSU sponsored legislative breakfast, will be held on November 18th. It will be a joint legislative breakfast with the economic partners. These are the group of individuals that are charged with assisting the Select Board in the implementation of their strategic plan. And the focuses of the economic partners is economic and workforce development for the community. And of course, it benefits the greater community. It will be held at the Firehouse here on River Road. As far as I know, we've put in it's been reserved, and the application is in, and we should soon have a confirmation of that. We'll begin at 7:45, as always. It usually lasts an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Can we just do that? You have the task list, whatever you put on there.
Yep, I do. Special education has been postponed to the 18th.
For the budget.
For the budget work session. Your next budget work session is the 18th. We talked about the elementary handbook revision, which we'll update you next month and where that is. We've taken public comment on the bullying policy, that there is not sufficient discussion about adult-to-student bullying. And that needs to be reviewed by the policy committee and perhaps edited more specifically. We had an individual in the community ask the board about the charter, and you had directed them to a legislator. And then the Gold View status will be, we'll just keep that as a continuing item. to report back to you on that status. There's been a request to put the BSD audit, as well as scheduling the next Essential Work of School Boards training session for the November 18th meeting. And it's not to have the training there for the Essential Work of School Boards, but to choose a date in which that will be continued. And that's it.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
what I have.
Does anybody have any others before we go into executive
Planning.
session? Yes?
I just had that question about when the BSC will be developing a marketing plan to keep the community.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
it's-
sorry, you did.
And then the
Yeah.
other question was,
You put that on there. We haven't even discussed that.
Yes, you did, I'm sorry. I didn't have it on the
Can I-
task list, I had it on my notes.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
I attended, Lori, because I was interested in that. I attended those sessions at Lake Maury. And the people that do it most successfully get grants. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent on these. It's very time consuming. You have to have staff do it. You have to have staff that can do it. We don't have it.
I think she meant,
It's not open for discussion, as I know.
all right.
Yeah, we'll put it on the,
I mean, we will
Agenda.
have to do something, but
Okay, can we have a motion to go in executive session?
So moved.
To meet with a parent
So moved.
And personnel.
and personnel.
Yep.
yes, thank you.
All right, and
And it'll be in, Mrs. Sky,
all in favor?
it'll be in the library.
Unanimous? Okay.